Saul Over Soon.
You're slipping Jimmy. Slipping Jimmy with a law degree is like a chimp with a machine gun.
Blow my magic flute.
Money is not beside the point. Money is the point.
That's what a Chicago sunroof is. Now you know.
Saul Over Soon.
It's a real thing. I didn't make it up.
Nobody wants to leave home.
Welcome to Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. I am Jamie G, zero-time heavyweight champion of Albuquerque. And I'm here with my co-host Magnum Mills, and we're going to cover the sixth and final season of Better Call Saul.
And hey, you better call Jamie G over there and put your phone on vibrate. I'm Magnum Mills. Thank you for checking us out. Like the man said, this is Saul Over Soon podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or on social media at Saul Over Soon. And you can send any feedback to sauloversoon@gmail.com. On this episode, we're going to break down episode 5 of season 6, Black and Blue. And be warned, from here on out, here be spoilers. We will be spoiling, or at least everything in Breaking Bad, everything in Better Call Saul, and El Camino. All that is open to spoiler discussion here. So I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you haven't seen all that stuff already, but if for some reason you are, be ready to be spoiled. And
Jamie G. Esquire here, and may it please the court, I'd like to ask Mills to enter the details of this episode into the official record.
This is episode 5 of season 6 of Better Call Saul, titled Black and Blue, originally aired May 9th, 2022. Directed by Melissa Bernstein. This is the second episode of Saul that she's directed, the other being JMM. Written by Allison Tatlock. This is her fourth written by credit on Saul after JMM, 50% Off, and Something Stupid. The short plot synopsis is, while business booms for Jimmy, the Vice Titans on the cat and mouse game between Gus and Lalo.
With all the details officially entered into the record, it's time to step into the ring and break down Black and Blue.
Man, the teaser here, the cold open, I did not know what the hell was going on with this. We see a slide rule, and it's being encased in a block of lucite like you'd use to display something or whatever, like an heirloom or something. I don't know. It just seems like a regular old slide rule, and we see a message being inscribed on it. The message isn't German, but it translates to "Love your boys." When the process is completed, the encased ruler is placed in a very nice, snazzy wooden box. Just any thoughts when you first saw this?
Bro, no earthly idea. I was literally lost at this cold opening. The cold open ended. I literally paused the show and I was like, that was bizarre as hell. I know
everyone didn't watch it again just to try to make sure there wasn't something that I was missing.
German. Like I didn't know what. And what bums me out is I should have been thinking about the fact that anything German, I got to go to my Breaking Bad days, and I got to think about the whole thing with the Germans building out Gus's underground meth lair, and I totally missed that on this cold open. It was so weird. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at all.
Yeah, I thought about like Madrigal, because I think they're European. I think they're based in Germany or something, like the Madrigal, the Electromotive, like the kind of the big cover company or whatever. So right. I thought maybe it had something to do with them. That's all I got. It was just one of those things where my second thought was, how the hell are they going to tie this into the episode? Because they always tie the teaser in somewhere.
That was my only thought.
My only thought was this was going to be used like someone was going to hit someone over the head with, kill somebody with it. It's kind of a heavy thing or whatever. It's all I could think of was someone's going to get murked with this thing encased in lucite, this slide rule.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought there was some sort of hidden code or something that would be used to kind of piece back something to something. Like I was looking for more of I was kind of channeling my inner Da Vinci Code on this. Like there must be some sort of hidden meaning here, Magnum Mills, but I was clearly unaware.
I do have to say, if we're going to do the whole comparison thing, you got to say Lalo Salamanca. He's a little bit more handsome than Robert Langdon. So sorry, Tom Hanks, but Tony Dalton, man, he's just styling in this episode, and we'll get to him when we get to him. But that's it. Get the teaser, get the title card, then we're back at Kim and Jimmy's condo. Kim can't sleep. She goes, she checks the locks on the door, and then she props a chair up against the front door. She is worried. Jimmy wakes up, and Kim tries to play it off like she just couldn't sleep, so she was going to get some work done. Jimmy doesn't buy it, and he figures it's related to Lalo. He's also been anxious, and he's glad that Lalo is dead. Kim does not use this opportunity to tell him that Lalo is in fact still alive, according to Mike.
Yeah, I get that she could maybe pull that off under normal circumstances, but it's like she forgot that she put a chair up against the door like wedging themselves in there, like the whole thing, like so no one can actually get in because you got a door propped up and balanced a certain way to where they can't open it. Like that's kind of a telltale sign that maybe it's
she just
something
wanted to
more
sit
than
at a
just I
funny
couldn't
angle
sleep.
when she was working on her casework. That's all. She just wanted. She had a back thing going on, so she needed to sit at the odd angle there.
Yeah, I mean, because Jimmy walks out and he immediately looks at the door and he realizes there's a chair wedged up against the door. So yeah, I think she could, not super conspicuous there out of our girl Kim.
And shout out Jimmy. He seems to be the only one that's actually getting any sleep in this episode. So good for him. And I guess the other question is, do you think that Kim should have told Jimmy here? It's one of those things. Like the longer she waits, the harder it gets. And this seemed to be the perfect opportunity, and she lets it pass by. Do you think she should have taken it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we talked about on our other podcast, the Ozark podcast, which you should totally listen to and check out because we cover the hit show Ozark. But same thing there, man. If the longer you wait to tell the truth on something, the bigger the lie becomes, the harder it gets. I think she should have told him, just because if she's really worried about potentially him coming to their home, dude, you got to tell Jimmy, bro. He lives there too. Like, come on.
And plus, I think having to hold this into herself is making it way worse for her.
Yeah.
I think if she tells him, at least she's going to have someone she can talk to about it or whatever. I mean, I'm all for some more Kim and Mike scenes, but I don't think if she calls him for support, he's going to have a lot of time to, sit there and talk about her feelings. I love Mike, but that doesn't really seem to, line up with his skill set, so to speak. He probably could. Mike could be a therapist if he wanted to be, but he doesn't have time for that right now. He's stretched thin.
Never doubt the Ehrman Trout. And speaking of feelings, Kim isn't the only one feeling anxious. At Los Pollos Hermanos, Gus is doing paperwork in his office, but he's having trouble staying on task. He checks out the kitchen, then he jumps on the register and he takes a customer's order. Even as he's upselling the customer, he's scanning for threats. There's a loud noise which startles him, and it's a stack of baking pans falling over in the kitchen. Gus can't take it anymore. He storms out in the parking lot, and he scans for threats like he's some kind of freaking Terminator. This dude is like creepy, and how clean and neat and like OCD he is, isn't he, Magnum Mills?
If you look in his office, I once knew someone whose parents, like their pops had some OCD, and he'd literally go into the closets with a ruler and line shoes up. But like if you look, Gus, it's like there's 6 clipboards on the wall, and they are all equal. They're lined up. They're equidistant apart from each other. If you look at the way his clothes are hanging, same thing. They're coordinated by color and whatnot. And it's just, and even when he goes through the kitchen, you see him like just tweaking little things. A random like visors on the hook, and he makes it so it's the same as the other visor. You can just tell that he's so meticulous, and having this hanging chad of Lalo Salamanca that he can't deal with is just driving him nuts.
Yeah, and to your point, Magnum Mills, watching him kind of like navigate through the restaurant, there's hats on the wall, and he just feels the need to kind of like touch them up. Like he's just very OCD, and the dude is an absolute thinker. Cards on the table. Do you think he ends up having to use that gun that they keep showing him?
Well, I mean, we see that
he uses it kind of in this episode, right?
Yeah, we'll get to the gun a little later in the episode, but you can definitely tell that he does not like carrying it. And it's the one thing here is, remember when he was having that conversation with Mike about replacing the guy on the fryer or whatever, even though he'd worked at McDonald's or whatever, and Mike's like, I'll take care of it. I thought here when he was going through the kitchen that we were going to see like some guy struggling to make the fries or whatever, and Gus was just gonna piss him off. So I was kind of disappointed when that didn't happen. I thought we were gonna get a little call back there.
Bro, how good do the spice curls sound? Like, yo, give me a freaking large, man. Like,
yeah, that dude was ordering a lot of food, man. Like when you're already ordering a bucket of chicken, you're like, oh yeah, and he's like, may I suggest? You're like, yeah, just throw a large on there. Like, wouldn't you just get like even a medium at the most, like just to check them out, make sure you like them?
Yeah.
Upsold
to a large. Yeah, that's Gus is a good salesman, man. And
even when he's being nice, you feel threatened. Like he doesn't say you better take them or else. Like he doesn't say the or else part, but you hear it in your head anyways.
Yeah, you don't tell that guy no. After that, Magnum Mills, we head back over to Jimmy's old stopping grounds, Sandpiper Crossing. Aaron from HHM is there addressing a group of residents who they are representing in the Sandpiper lawsuit. Aaron is trying to explain things, but it's not going great. The residents think that the lawsuit is taking way too long. Howard Hamlin jumps up on the mic and he turns up the charm all the way, Magnum Mills, to an 11. He explains why they're asking for more money. And the crowd seems mollified.
I mean, I liked a little bit at the beginning before when Aaron's talking, you see Cliff Main look at Hamlin, and Hamlin is just like, tapping his foot like crazy, all twitchy and everything. And that we know that's just how Hamlin is. But now that Cliff Main is looking for signs of drug abuse, now he's like, oh man, this dude needs his fix or whatever.
Yeah, it definitely, you could see kind of the way Cliff kind of glances down, and it's like, oh, the thoughts cross in his mind, like maybe he's jonesing for a bump. Like he's been on the sauce here a little bit, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, like Hamlin's bravado though. Like he did kind of sort through that and present very well. And it was almost like one of these things where Cliff was a little impressed too. Like he definitely saved that situation from going downhill fast.
Yeah, Hamlin's good. I don't think that's ever been in doubt that he's actually very good at what he does. I think you could make the argument that Kim is smarter than him or whatever, but he's never been like, even though like his pops got in, he's always seemed to have a pretty good work ethic and be on top of things and be fairly charming and whatnot. So I think it all fits. The one thing I don't know that I agree with is when he says like, oh, we're not doing this to get the most money. We're just getting it because you deserve it. He's full of shit. They're a law firm. They're trying to get as much money as possible. That's all they give a fuck about, right? I mean, he is still selling here. He's not really, he doesn't care about, I'm not saying he wants these people to go destitute or not get what's coming to them, but he doesn't mind making them wait to get more money in his pocket.
Yeah, because every month he's billing, and that bill is going to come out of the total lump sum. So he needs it to be as much as he possibly can because he's billing him a shitload. This has been going on for, I don't know, 6 months to a year, more than that. It's been going on multiple years
for a while,
billings, right? So
you're probably 2 years now or something like that. So it's been a minute. And after that meeting's over, we saw Cliff looking at him. So out in the parking lot there in the garage, Cliff confronts Hamlin about his supposed drug use. Cliff has experience with this because of his son, and he wants to assist Howard in getting the help that he needs. Hamlin is obviously frustrated by all this, and he finds out that Cliff was meeting with Kim Wexler when Cliff supposedly saw Howard throw a prostitute out of his car. Hamlin immediately figures out that this is all Jimmy's doing. He tells Cliff Main that he does have a problem, just not the one that he thinks. Hamlin gets into his Jag, calls his secretary, and tells her to cancel his entire week. Yes, the entire week.
It must feel great to be able to call your assistant and be like, cancel my week. And then just, yes, the entire week. I mean, that's some big baller shit. Hats off to Hamlin. I like just Ed Begley Jr. here as Cliff, and him just like this kind of like sweet innocent of like, you can start today, Howard, because he's literally thinking about, checking into, in Cliff's mind, it's Howard admitting he has a problem, checking into rehab, so on and so forth. And he's so positive. You can start today. And then Hamlin's response is just great.
Yeah. And I think you see this a little bit later. I think it's almost a relief that now Hamlin can do this. Like you can tell other stuff was bothering him. And now he's just like, all right, now he's got a clear objective. Like, all right, I'm going to get Jimmy. And I think he said that later in the episode when he's like thinking as clear as he has been in a minute or whatever. So I think you kind of get that when he's like, all right, cancel my week, screw everything. Like, I'm going to get this done. I think that kind of gives him, again, a purpose or whatever. He likes that. I guess the one thing here is I think we find out that it was maybe not in this way, but I assume it was part of the plan that he eventually figured out that they're trying to hustle him or they're trying to do something. That's the implication I think we get later in the episode, but maybe not exactly this way, but
right.
I just, because it does seem a little bit sloppy because as soon as he heard that Cliff was meeting with Kim Wexler, when he saw one of the things, he's like, oh, well, that's Jimmy then.
Yeah. It almost feels like
it's too obvious almost. Like if that was actually their plan and they didn't think about that, then I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing too, do you think they just got lucky, they being Saul and Kim, that Cliff had a son that had addiction problems?
I'm assuming,
or did they know?
They
knew, and
that's
why into it.
That's why they played in exactly, because otherwise it doesn't work. They had to find a personal angle that worked.
Right, because you got to believe that that's why he's kind of having a hard time believing Howard here, is because he's kind of been through this with his son. He's seen, nothing's more heartbreaking when you love someone and you want to believe them, and you believe them, and then they lie to you, and you're proven
right, because he probably missed the signs with his son. His son lied to him. Now he thinks he missed the signs with Howard. Howard's lying to him. It just feels like here we go again, same old shit, dog, just a different day.
Here we go again. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, now it's Saul Goodman time, and Saul is working on forming the Voltron that is his law operation in Breaking Bad. We see he's got the pinky ring, he's got the office, it's coming along, but now he needs his trusty number 2. Francesca pulls up at Saul's office where a bunch of kind of shady clients are already waiting to meet with Saul. Francesca is not very impressed by the office, like not at all. Like think like Michaela Maroney. It's all cleaned up a little bit, meaning he kind of swept all the debris out and he moved the toilet off to like a little bit of the side of the room, instead of right in the middle, and he got himself a card table and a folding chair. That's pretty much it. It's a little bare bones right now. And Francesca's not loving it. Kim's gone. Jimmy is Saul all of a sudden, and he's no longer doing elder law. So she turns down Saul's offer. But he has to have her. Like literally, he didn't have another option. So he offers to double the pay of her current job plus a signing bonus. She's in, but she needs to have a say in how the office will be decorated.
This is so good. And the show missed Francesca and Saul. Like this is, you love this because it's just so it's funny. This is what this type of shit is what made you fall in love with Saul in Breaking Bad and why he has his own show basically. So I just think this is so great. I mean, the dialogue here is fantastic. I mean, Saul's one-liner of what Colonel Sanders is to chicken, Saul Goodman is to the law, just hilarious. And I personally like when Saul's trying to get her to stay and he's like, what if I double your salary? And she's like, my salary at the MVD or what you were paying me before? He's like, whatever's less. And she turns around and walking away. He's like, no, more is the word I was looking for.
Like you can tell, like, yeah, he's lucky he shouldn't have gone cheap out on the first one there. It's like, just don't say the whatever's less part. Nice to have her back. You know, she rolls up, she's bumping some Release Me by Wilson Phillips. And I have to guess, I don't really know her decorating style. You don't know how many of the choices we eventually see in Breaking Bad are hers, but I bet you her first rule is you get rid of the random toilet in the room. If I had to make a guess, that's going to be first up on her list.
She definitely gave it the stank eye, no pun intended. And it was not something that she was happy to see. And to be honest with you, I don't know that any of the clientele would be real happy to walk in just a random toilet. And it was dirty, bro.
I don't know. Some of those dudes, man, they looked like they've been standing there for a while. They might have to use the can. I don't know. They might not be too bashful about it.
Yeah. Maybe just put up one of those little, one of those.
I mean,
little,
my guess is a lot of these guys have
and...
had to use the communal facilities in the when they've been incarcerated. So
in the big house, yeah,
this is probably not bad. This is just like 2 other random people. There's a lot of space,
Yeah,
for them it's probably like might ask for a magazine or something. Who knows,
bro? That's the Ritz-Carlton of using the bathroom for those guys. So from their Magnum Mills, we get Kim, and Kim is back at the El Camino, and her former assistant Viola Gatto arrives to meet Kim for coffee. They make some small talk, and Kim finds out the name of the mediator for an upcoming mediation session in the Sandpiper case, a retired judge from Santa Fe named Casimiro. Viola also tells Kim that she admires what she's doing and how she shifted the focus of her career. Kim made her feel better about the law. You just like Kim here. I mean, she's a listener, she's smart, and I think that comment made her feel better about the law. I don't know, man. I think it felt good for Kim.
Well, I think right now it's a nice scene. It's really just a scene that shows us how they get the name of this mediator guy, but they do nice character work here because you know what, Kim needed a little pick me up right now.
I think so,
and I think especially too because you got to hear when Jimmy talks about it later. Like she, only had this meeting. She's not doing all the kindness for heart. She's trying to get information. But I think here she does kind of make a personal connection or whatever. And I think that's important because, Kim, especially that she's kind of holding this Lalo news in, she's really, off on her own island right now. And I think this is just one of those times where, Viola didn't know that Kim needed to hear this really bad, but it was really huge.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good boost for her for sure. From there, we see Jimmy. And Jimmy's pulling up outside a boxing club, and he's there to meet a Mr. Ward. Turns out that's H.O. Ward, or How Ward, a.k.a. Hamron Howard Hamlin. Hamlin tells Jimmy that he knows Jimmy is plotting against him. Hamlin wants a chance to settle this once and for all in the boxing ring. Seriously, Jimmy laughs, starts to take off before pausing and deciding, you know what? I'm going to step in that ring after all. In the ring, Jimmy gets one decent shot in, but he's definitely outclassed by Hamlin, who knocks him down with a red right hand. He tells Jimmy that he's misjudged his kindness for weakness. He hopes that this ends the beef between them once and for all. but he doubts it. Outside of boxing club, Hamlin gets in the car with a guy we're assuming is some sort of private dick, some sort of private investigator of sorts. Hamlin tells him that he wants a full surveillance on Jimmy. A bit later, when Jimmy leaves the club in his car, the private dick follows him.
Yeah, this is, spoiler alert, this is probably my favorite scene of the episode, but I don't mind doing most of the talking about it now. Cards on the table, right? Slippin' Jimmy, not a guy who's really a big fan of the fair fight, I would say. I would expect him to be a dirty fighter, be a little bit scrappy, so to speak. And B, they both know that legitimately in a straight up fight, Hamlin's gonna kick his ass, right?
Oh yeah.
Or did you really think like for some reason we were gonna come? Nothing we've seen now has indicated that he's like secretly hiding the fact that he did get I'm sure he got in fights when he's a kid. But he's, like I said, I bet you try to get in a couple good shots and run away or something,
Yeah, he's slipping Jimmy. He's not freaking Debo. I mean, there's a difference, right? And I
Mel
did like his
comment,
comment,
muscle, so to speak. Mel's just so big, like no one would fuck with him, probably.
I did like the fact that that Jimmy was like, yeah, I could have been a contender and talking about it. I don't think Jimmy was a big fighter. I think he was a fun-loving con man, and that was basically his way of rebelling.
Yeah, before we do some of the fun stuff, let's talk about one of the real interesting parts, and that's Hamlin. And he puts it this way, and he's talking about how Jimmy's out to get him, and he says all roads lead back to you. It's Psych 101. You want to get caught. We kind of talked about this with the setup here, and how as soon as he figured out that Kim was meeting with Cliff Main, that he knew it was a setup and that Jimmy was the one behind it. I don't know. Do you think on some level that he actually does want to get caught, or that he wants Hamlin to know? Because this isn't his thing, right? This is Kim's thing, really. He's going along with her, of course, but he was kind of ambivalent to it. He's only doing it. She's the one pushing here. And I think that's why if this was actually a thing between them, maybe fighting would have worked, right? Maybe they would have got it out of their system or whatever, but it really doesn't matter because Saul really isn't mad at Hamlin like that. He doesn't like him, but he wouldn't do this except for Kim. Yeah,
and I think Jimmy kind of buried a lot of his resentment with Chuck. I think Chuck dying kind of took a lot of Jimmy's bitterness for being overlooked and shit out the window. And Jimmy's found a new angle on life where he can do it his way without being judged and beaten down by Chuck, because Chuck is dead. And I think that's kind of, so you're right. I don't think he has a serious beef with Hamlin. The weird thing about this, and we'll talk about this when we get to the next scene, Jimmy did not make a big deal about Hamlin finding out with Kim at all. So to answer your point, I think in a way they did want Howard to know, and they thought this was how it would be. And this is part of the plan a little bit. Now, he probably didn't expect to get roped into a boxing match, but all things considered, I think they expected to get caught. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and then there's some, some fun parts of this when Jimmy is kind of just talking metaphorically about it, and he's like, so what is this? He's like, so what? This is like pistols at dawn. And then, when he gets closer to thinking about it, and Hamlin's trying to tell him like, oh, this is what you want. You want to fight me, and Jimmy's like, I think this is what you want. Beat the shit out of me legally. And my favorite is when he walks in and Jimmy sees how and dude, Hamlin's standing there by the ring. They do the over the shoulder shot with Jimmy, and you kind of see him. It's just a beautiful composition on that shot. Love that. And Jimmy says, Mr. Ward, I presume, is an H.O. Ward. That's really cute, Howard. And then he follows with, wait, that means you're the guy who shanked some dude in a rumble near Central Penn? That's very street of you. And Hamlin's like, I thought it sounded like a Saul Goodman kind of case. And to his credit, it did. So
blow for blow. I mean, that was almost the better fight.
But you can kind of see it, right? Like Hamlin, he makes his kind of puns. He's having a little bit of fun here. I don't know how we would ever get it, but I would love to him and Saul have to do a con together before the end of the show. It's like the one time when you have to go work with your enemy or whatever, and they run a scam on someone together. I'd love that. I think that would be love it too. Awesome.
The only way I can think of something happens with the Sandpiper case, Hamlin gets desperate.
Or goes too far. It goes too far and Hamlin gets he might go to jail or something. And Jimmy's finally like, no, I can't. This is a bridge too far. I just want to get the Sandpiper money faster and help Kim. I didn't want this. So somehow they have to team up to get his ass out of trouble or something, maybe.
Yep. Could be. Great scene, Magnum Mills. Really, really cool. Not something I ever thought I would see. I did like how they had Howard in the cutoff sleeve and looking like he's got a little buff going. I mean, that was well played.
And then in the actual fight, I thought it was shot pretty well, and I liked it at the beginning. Like Hamlin's ready, he's all business, and Saul's like playing to a crowd that's not there.
Yeah.
And he's getting up and doing the champion of the world thing, and he's like, he's doing all the funny winding up and bobbing and weaving and stuff like that. And Hamlin's just like, yeah, come here so I can fucking hit you. They got a couple, Hamlin got the only good, shot him really with the uppercut to the head, but they
knocked him down twice.
They got a couple good body shots. Saul got like 2 good body shots. Hamlin got a couple in, so
yeah, decent amateur match, that's for sure, between two old guys. From there, the very next scene, we see Kim is on the balcony having a beer and lighting up a smoke when Jimmy arrives, still holding an ice pack to his face. They head to the bathroom where Jimmy is trying to cover his black eye with makeup because he has court in the morning. Kim says that he shouldn't hide it. He should lean into it. Kim tells him that she got a name, Rand Casimiro. She shows Jimmy a picture, and Jimmy comments on his mustache. That's a lot less face to worry about. He's pissed that he let Howard suck him into the fight. Kim says that he had his reasons because he knows what's coming next. I'm curious as to what's coming next. It also sounds like, are we going to get another Jimmy Incognito where instead of dressing up like Howard Hamlin, he's dressing up like Rand Casimir? Because, dude, that was a kick-ass stash with the handlebars, bro.
How do you fake that convincingly? He said it's years of grooming to really. I don't know if they could just. I don't know.
You're not just getting rid of that.
Their hair and makeup they have available to them. Saul just always had the little group of like college kids or whatever that did most of his filming and everything. I don't
for
think
$20 each.
Right. I don't think we've seen them in a minute. It'd be kind of cool if they brought that. But that's what it sounds like, right? Think he's gonna do like a fake mediation or something, like they're gonna have somebody impersonate the guy and make everyone else think it's the real thing and try to get him to settle that way or something like that.
Yeah.
That's about what I got there. And again, some important stuff here though, because we do see Saul like in his Breaking Bad, you see him like, I'll fight for you, Albuquerque, in his ads and everything. And this again is another thing that actually came from Kim.
I'll fight for you, dude. One thing that was weird here though is they have zero discussion, zero worry, zero thought around Howard Hamlin finding out that Jimmy's behind this thing. So they clearly knew that was coming when they planted the seed, knew Cliff would tell Howard, and here they are working their plan to its perfection.
Well, yeah, it's at least still going close enough because they're talking. Obviously, this is part of the next stage of it. It's still on, so this didn't screw it up too much. My guess is here that what Kim is implying is that Saul let himself get sucked in because he almost wanted to take some punishment from Howard because he knows they're going to fuck Howard up pretty bad. So he felt kind of guilty, and this was his like way of doing penance or whatever, something like that. That's what I would read into it.
Yeah, nope, another good. I think, and this is kind of a theme as we go through this episode, a lot of chess piece movement in this episode.
Yeah, they're really setting it up here because you got to hit. There's only 2 episodes left in part 1 here, and they're going to kind of want to build to at least some sort of climax there in episode 7. This is episode 5, so you got to get everything in place. 6 will probably be some setup. They light the fuse on the bomb, and then the bomb goes off in episode 7, so to speak. And what's not the bomb? Poor Mike. He has to get smuggled into Gus's decoy house. He's in the back of Mrs. Ryman's. It's a small SUV. It's an old RAV4. Poor Mike. He gets out and he kind of gives this sigh/grunt, and you could just hear it in his bones. That was he'd probably rather be out there laying in the sniper in the prone position for a couple hours than riding in that thing. That looked rough. Mike goes in the house, checks in with the guys. It figures Gus is sleeping. He's not. Of course he's not. Where would Gus be? He's in the bathroom. He's cleaning the grout above the bathtub with a toothbrush. Mike tells Gus that this is a waiting game now. He's got to be patient. Eventually, Lalo will come to Gus. For some reason, that seems to make something click in Gus's mind. And he says, Lalo can't strike. Not yet. Gus tells Mike to get the men ready because they're going out.
Yeah, and just, again, I like how this was shot with this lady just kind of like in her own world, jamming out to her music, pulling into her garage, getting out casually after the garage door closes, opening up, and there's Mike freaking all crunched up back there. And, again, there wasn't a whole lot of dirt on that grout, but he's down there on his hands and knees, meticulously cleaning it with the toothbrush. I mean, Gus is way too OCD for my liking, dude. He's overboard, bro.
But he also remember when he wanted to, fire the bodyguard because he wasn't the best on fries or whatever?
Yeah.
Even in a decoy house or whatever, you would think you have to imagine they're probably, I guess maybe you can't bring a maid in there, but He has to be paying somebody to do it, right? You must fire them or do something. You would think I don't think the answer would be, clean the bathroom with a toothbrush yourself. Like that's what you make people do as a punishment.
Yeah.
But again, it's just showing that he would rather do anything right now than have to sit, kind of alone and just keep stewing on this. And did you have any thoughts about what kind of clicked in his head?
No, I mean, something happened though, where he, I didn't really know what it was. I just knew it was something.
What I figured is, Gus starts thinking, because Mike says, well, it's a waiting game, but he'll come here eventually. And so Gus was like, why is he waiting? And the only thing I can think of is that even if, say, Lalo comes and he kills Gus, that still doesn't solve his problem with the cartel. As far as the cartel is concerned, Nacho was a traitor. The Salamancas they're in trouble right now, really. They got to get their shit straight. And why did Lalo fake his death and everything? So what he needs is proof that Gus has been lying to them, because if he can prove Gus has been lying to them for a long time, I think then they're more apt to believe everything else. And how could he prove Gus is lying to them? The only way is, remember the Super Lab, because he told him it was this thing to like chill chicken to make more money for Dos Pollos Hermanos. It had nothing to do with the meth lab. If he can prove that they're building some kind of super lab or something, that's going to take money away from the cartel or whatever, but he lied to them directly about it. So I think that's what he figured, like, all right, he hasn't attacked me because he still can't fix the cartel problem. How does he fix the cartel problem so he can attack me? And then that's why he wanted to go look at the site then, I guess, maybe to see if he'd been there, or I don't know. And, we'll get to that scene when we get to it, but I think that's what I came up with in my head anyways.
Yeah, no, I love where you're going with that. Magnum Mills, that's some good sleuthing there. Some good sleuthing.
Yeah, and I mean, from there, we just go right to the future super lab. It looks like they stopped working on it after, the Warner thing and all the guys went off. I thought they were a little bit further along at that point, that they were just gonna have other guys working on it. It looks like they've got the basic, structure and everything up, but none of the, that's pretty much it. They just got the space. And, Mike's there, and I think we kind of doesn't know why Gus is there, but he's thinking he's probably going to use it as a, a place to hole up or something like that. Mike says, all right, he goes upstairs, leaves Gus alone. Gus kind of walks around a bit. He checks things out, and then he takes out that gun in his ankle holster and he hides it on the tread of an excavator. And we don't know what his plan is, but he seems to have one out. He seems much more satisfied than when he went in, and he heads upstairs, kills the lights. And the only real question here is, what the hell is his plan?
But one thing I want to point out before that, Mike is starting to learn Gus, where Gus doesn't even have to say it, and Mike knows what he's thinking. And I think that's really important, because one thing we've seen over the course of this season is Mike's evolution of becoming Gus's right-hand man, which is what it is throughout the entirety of Breaking Bad. And this is how. And, Mike's down there, he's looking around, he's reassuring him that there's no way someone can get in there, 420 cubic fucking meters of dirt followed by cement. And then, I put more men down here. And then he realizes Gus doesn't want his suggestion. Gus wants time to be alone and gather his thoughts. So Mike recognizes it and says, I'll be upstairs. I mean, just an impressive
Mike
for Mike.
Right. And I think he also did what he had to do. He gave what he thought would be the pertinent information to Gus. This is what he might need to know. He figures, all right, can't do anything else. I'm going to go upstairs.
I'm going upstairs.
Do your thing.
Yep.
And yeah, that's right on. And I think the only way I can get the way he walks around is that it's like he's going to somehow confront Lalo down there, and he's trying to figure out where they're going to walk and where he'll end up standing to need that gun or something. That's some crazy, if that actually works out that way, that's wild. I don't know what else it could be, because he kind of he was looking for he's the way he's walking and looking, it's like he's trying to trace stuff in his a path in his head or something. I couldn't figure anything else out. Then he picks up the cord, would someone trip on it, or if you pull it, what happens to the lights? But it seemed like he was making a battle plan, right? Like Home Alone style. He's figuring out where he's going to hang the paint cans and everything.
Absolutely. He knows where that gun is. So when he needs it, it's go time.
See, that's good. But now I just man, instead of the gun, I would have liked it a lot more if he set up some Home Alone style traps for Lalo.
Yeah. A couple of broken.
Yeah, you got the blowtorch and, heat up the doorknob and.
Yep. Some
broken a little bit. Yeah, you gotta, Lalo's a little bit too pretty, man. You gotta dirty him up a little bit.
He is too. But the interesting thing is here, though, is Gus's intuition is right, because the very next scene, we get Lalo and we understand his kind of play here coming to life, which involves Gus's underground lab. So, Magnum Mills, welcome to Berlin. I guess so, because a woman gives some advice to some younger people playing a trivia game, but they don't listen to her. We hear an American sounding male voice order a drink, and the voice addresses the woman. The voice belongs to, you guessed it, Lalo Salamanca. And the woman he's addressing is Margaret Ziegler, the widow of Werner Ziegler. Lalo using the information he has to get her talking. Marguerite tells him that her husband died in a cave-in while saving his crew. She's never actually met any of the crew who he calls his boys, and none of them showed at the funeral. Lalo walks her home when she considers letting him inside, but she doesn't. Lalo tells her that he's flying out tomorrow, and she goes inside after saying, maybe in another life.
When this scene started happening, I guess a little bit I was like, oh, cold open, also because we're getting to that end of the episodes, you figure it's got to come back around somewhere. But I was not thinking Germany and Lalo Salamanca in the same sentence. Even when I heard the voice, I'm like, that voice sounds familiar. And I just couldn't, like, for a split second, I was like, that's not Walter White or something, right? There's no reason they're Germany for a teachers conference or something. I know, but the slide ruler thing, I don't know, chemistry or, and then it's Lalo, and I'm like, holy shit. And shout out, last time we saw Lalo, he just stolen the truck from the Coyotes or whatever in Mexico. So somehow he got all cleaned up, got some dough, got a passport, not only got to Germany, but managed to do so with a gun and a silencer. And it's not like America. It's much more difficult to get your hands on some firearms over there. So this is like Batman making his way back to fucking Gotham after being in the pit or whatever.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, well, he did it. Don't worry about how he did it. He did it.
But bro, can we just talk about how charming Lalo is? Dude rocked the 2-button dress shirt, unbuttoned at the top, not showing too much chest, but just enough. Perfect light pink color with the dark colored blue blazer over top. This was impressive by Lalo. Sharp looking, handsome, charming man.
Oh yeah, dude. Tony Dalton is just absolutely just slaying it. And you can tell this is one of those times you can tell when an actor like legitimately loves playing a character, and you can tell he is just having just a blast playing Lalo. And he plays well with everybody, right? Some actors' characters as better pairs or whatever. Like Lalo is a wild card. Lalo plus anything is great. And he has nice chemistry with her. But you got to figure that, right? Like Lalo probably has never had any problems in the ladies department, is my guess.
No, I think he could probably clean up, do pretty well a night out at the bar on the prowl. Speaking of the night of, let's talk about the next morning. The next morning we see
real quick before because I remember we talked about it when we saw him disappear at the end of episode 1. Or was it 2? Because they were a 2-parter basically, but it's been a minute. And we had all these predictions. In a million years, did you think the next time we see Lalo is in Germany? No. I never would have. It makes sense though, because this is the only information he had. Because remember, this is the whole thing why he got in jail. He killed the travel agent guy or whatever, because Werner was running and he got on the phone. So he started getting some info. Remember, then Mike gets the phone, and that's how so that's all he had to go on. So we probably should have figured that out. I feel kind of dumb now. It seems pretty obvious that was all he had to go on. But even if I'd known that, I still wouldn't have been like, oh, he's going to somehow go from Mexico to Germany. So I just thought that was a case of the show doing something wildly that I'd never expect, but it works. And it does seem realistic enough, even though I joke about the passport a little. I mean, he thought enough to have a double to fake his own death. It's probably not that crazy that he had a safety deposit box or somewhere he could get to with passports and cash and a gun and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dude working in the cartel. They've got access to shit like that. You could chalk it up to that.
Yeah, I mean, he literally kept the dude alive around. He got his teeth fixed to look like his, so in case he ever needed to, fake his own death. He thinks ahead.
Yeah, he's a planner. And Magnum Mills, that takes us to the next morning, where we see Marguerite leave for work and Lalo breaks into her house. He's searching for anything that can lead him to the next link in the chain. Her small dog tries to alert her of Lalo's presence, and we see Lalo screw a silencer onto his gun. As she climbs the stairs, Lalo notices the slide ruler encased in lucite that we saw in the cold open teaser. There's a label for the company on the bottom. We see Marguerite enter the office, but it's empty. She closes a window that is open for some reason, and the episode ends.
Lalo was upstairs, right?
Yeah, and when you look at the side of the house, There was no deck. That was a weird shape. Like,
I mean, in the
European
windows
design,
opens, the implication has to be that he went out the door because he really couldn't have gone past her otherwise. Just another case of where I think they wanted to make it work and they wanted that tension. You really didn't need her to come back other than to be needless. Like, her coming back just was strictly for tension purposes, which is fine. But then it makes that kind of, makes you think about it a little bit at the end. And I almost don't even really think they needed it.
Yeah,
I guess the whole point was like, but that's Lalo, right? You knew if he had to, he would kill her.
He didn't want to, but he would have for sure. Yeah.
Same thing. You know, shout out the little bear there, the good dog. He did his best, man. He was trying.
Dude, I think he definitely did his job, dude. Like, you can't blame him at all.
He kept going right to the stairs. I mean, you see that little, he can't even like get up the stairs. He one of those little, like, he couldn't even hop up the stairs.
Proud of little bear. Magnum Mills, that is the episode.
Just
so
one thing I just wanted, one last thing, in just, it's something that this show does, Breaking Bad did very well, is they'll take something tiny, something inconsequential here, and it's just this thing that, you know, his boys sent Werner's wife so she would have something, really, because they're not allowed to. I'm assuming that they're still alive, that they weren't secretly killed by Gus or something, but you know, that was part of the deal. They could never contact her or anything, and so they kind of did this, and it's like nothing, right? And it only works because it has that sticker on the bottom, and it's just, again, it's something you would never think in a million years, but that's going to obviously lead, you know, Lalo's going to go to that company, he's going to find out which one of the guys paid for it, then he's going to go to them, then he's going to find, you know, he'll show him a picture of Mike or something, and then he'll get him to talk, and you can see it. It's just that one little thing. And, you know, shout out Lalo too for kind of looking around that office and somehow figuring that out. You can just, you know, emphasizing just again, he is a very smart dude.
When it was crunch time too, I mean, she was creeping up the stairs, creeping on the come up, rounding the corner for Werner's office when he sees it. So, I mean, he's literally got the silencer up, listening to her, sees it, catches it, then has to then climb out a window without making a fucking peep, 2 stories up with nothing underneath. Little far-fetched on the window thing for me. Also, did you see the size of that window? Very small.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was like and also like it was a weird. It was more of a rectangular, you know, horizontally oriented window.
Yeah,
it was going to be really and kind of up. You'd have to step onto something to get out of it, I think. Yeah, I have a lot of questions
could have made it through. He could not have. So that little bit of an easy way out there, but it works. It's Saul, baby, and it is Saul good. And Magnum Mills, that's basically the episode. So that means it's time for, you guessed it, Mike's Always Right. Pretty simple here, folks. We examine the actions of one Mr. Mike Ehrmantraut in this episode and ask one simple question. Was Mike right?
Dude, I mean, you probably already know the answer, but you know, officially you'll just look at it. He didn't have a lot to do in this episode, but he did the right thing, even though it was super uncomfortable, and he got smuggled into that decoy house, the back of a RAV4. Good for Mike right there. And, you know, even though he just said it was a, you know, waiting game, that helped Gus figure something out. So again, good for him. And then you go to the super lab and he just tells Gus all the information he needs to know. That leaves Gus to do his thing. I mean, dude, this is Mike, dude. I want to be like Mike.
Never doubt Ehrmantraut. No diggity, no doubt.
Jamie G, they're really, you know, we hear Saul talking about having to go to court, not wanting to look like Leon Spinks, but he never actually goes. So not a lot of legal action, but let me just ask you, Jamie G, how do you fight for your clients?
I think I've only officially fought 2 of my clients. The rest were just considered to be, you know, minor scuffles.
Like, what do you mean by officially fought? Like in the ring or something?
No, officially fighting means that you know, assault charges were filed.
Damn, you filed assault charges against your client?
No, of course not.
Wait, so they filed charges? Well, I guess this is why you can't defend anyone in a court of law, dude. It's all starting to make sense now. And now for something completely different. Jamie G, what was your favorite line or quote from this episode, Black and Blue?
Magnum Mills, I gotta give it up for my guy Saul. He's home. He's just took an ass whooping from Howard Hamlin. He's digging into Kim's expensive makeup despite her wishes as to icing it. And he's trying to cover that shiner he's got under his eye. He goes, I can't. I've got court first thing in the morning. I can't show up looking like Leonard Spinks. That to me is hilarious, well placed. And he's right. You can't show up looking like you just took an ass whooping. I mean, that's in just a timely line too for our younger viewers. Leon Spinks was like a badass boxer, certainly of Saul's generation. And I like the line. It added some humor. It was funny. And that's what I'm going with, Magnum Mills. What line are you going with?
There's one I maybe want to go with, but it's in my favorite scene, so I'll leave that for that. Quick runner-up was, what Colonel Sanders is to chicken, Saul Goodman is to the law. I like that, but it only works if you really do enjoy the KFC. So otherwise, it's kind of an insult. So I won't go with that one. I'm actually going to go with the little exchange between Cliff Bain and Hamlin, where Cliff Bain's trying to get Howard to go to rehab or whatever, clean himself up. He's like, "You can start today, Howard." And Hamlin's like, "Oh, I will, because you're right. I do have a problem, just not the problem you think. I have a Jimmy McGill problem." And he was just happy when he said it. It was like, all right, I know what's going on. This is something I can deal with. And, I really enjoyed that exchange because, like you said before, Cliff Bain was so genuinely trying to help Hamlin. He even says that, like, "Thank you for coming to me as a friend," and everything, so I think that whole thing worked well for me here. So after that, I alluded to it. Favorite scene of the episode for me, it has to be the entire sequence at the boxing club. From the second Saul walks in and finds out that H.O. Ward is Hal Ward to the very end. It's just when he's just laying there on the ground and, Howard tells him he's mistaken his kindness for weakness all these years. Just perfect. Best scene of the episode, hands down. Didn't even have to think about it.
Magnum Mills, it is a fantastic scene. However, I'm going to offer you one more, not going to compete with you whether it's better or not. We'll let the courts decide that, but we will have an option here. I am going with Jimmy and for Francesca. I just loved how this scene was shot. You just see, Francesca pull up. There is a line of suspect characters lined around the block, basically waiting to get in to see Jimmy. The blinds are broken. Saul's just got a little piece of paper. I'm talking about just a regular old piece of paper, with Saul Goodman and Associates taped to the door. The blinds are broken and Francesca's just banging, trying to get in. He lets her in. Everyone's trying to rush in. No. We open in officially 4 minutes. And he just, and then his whole negotiation with her, she's looking around, place a shithole. It's missing ceiling rafters. There's a damn toilet. Saul's got his Bluetooth on and he's just right in his glory here. Big fan of it. Thought it was a great scene. And in honor, Magnum Mills, of one of our favorite characters, it's time, oh yes, to choose our
Nacho Man. I want to be a Nacho Man.
Nacho Man or woman of the week. Mills, who is your Nacho Man, your MVP of this episode, black and blue?
Man, this was a tough one because I low-key almost wanted to give it to Francesca because she comes in and just gets double her pay, gets a signing bonus, gets, say into the decor of the office. But I got to go with Hamlin here, man, because it feels like this is a dude we talk about this in a lot of shows we cover characters. They always want to find a purpose or whatever. And we heard, when he's at therapy, he's having some troubles at home and everything like that. He's had to pay a lot of money to do the buyout for Chuck and everything. It's been a rough hot minute here for Hamlin. And here he sees, all right, Jimmy's scheming me, cancel my week, gets him to a boxing club and legally beats the shit out of him and then has him followed. That's I think Hamlin won the week, dude. So he's my MVP, black and blue. Jamie G, how about you?
My Nacho Man. I'm going a lot of options this week. I've decided to go with Gus Fring, and I'm going with Gus because this is somebody, this shit is eating him up inside with Lalo. He can't sleep, he can't relax, he can't do anything except obsess on it. And it just felt like as this episode went on, we got an idea of how serious he's taking this shit, and how involved and invested he is in it. And it felt like he got some hand at the end. Felt like he made his move and he kind of laid the bait in the trap, and that gave him an edge and an up. And it just felt like maybe he was a step or two ahead of Lalo, whereas when we started this episode, he was a step or two behind. And that is why I'm giving it to the dude, Mr. Chicken, Los Pollos Hermanos, up to Los Pollos Hermanos standards, Gus Fring.
Nice, dude. Nice. And that means there's not much left. This is a very important part here. We stop maybe being, fake lawyers and start being fake professors and put a grade on this episode. And we're going to grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. Marco's pinky rings, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Jamie G, how many pinky rings are you giving to Black and Blue?
Ooh, Magnum Mills. This is a good episode, more of a chess piecer, kind of moving things around a little bit here, setting the stage for what I think will be a fantastic final 2 episodes of this first half of the last season. I'm going to give this one a solid 7.9 pinky rings, almost enough to fill everything except your thumbs. And I'm going 7.9 on this bad boy. Pinky ring shit. Woo, woo. Pinky ring shit.
I'm right there in the ballpark for you. I'll go 8 flat, 8.0. There's a couple of, again, small logistical problems I have. We talked about Lalo in the window and a couple of parts that are sketchy, but for the most part, again, you keep Saul on his journey keep Jimmy on his journey to becoming Saul. The boxing match puts it way up there for me. It's just such a great scene. We've been waiting for these two characters to really. We've gotten kind of Saul flipping out of him at the courthouse and stuff like this, but this was kind of the revenge of Howard Hamlin a little bit here, and we got to see him actually be Hammerin' Howard Hamlin. We've been calling him that for a minute, and that would be his boxing name. So I feel 8's fair, dude. It's a solid episode of television.
Yes.
Graded on a curve a little bit because it is Saul. I think 8.0 pinky rings is a very fair grade for this episode.
Totally agree with the pinky rings, Magnum Mills. Let's talk a little bit about predictions, my dude. What do you see happening here on the final episode or 2 of Better Call Saul?
Yeah, kind of the part 1 of season 6 here. We got 2 episodes left. I think that next week it's pretty obvious that Lalo's going to go to a company that did the lucite encasing on the slide rule. They're going to find out who paid, he'll find out who bought that. He's going to follow him, probably be one of Werner's boys. And then from there, he'll find out what they're building, probably kill him, but get enough evidence that, maybe he brings, I don't know, maybe he's got to bring the dude back to tell the cartel. Maybe he records him or something. I don't know. But I think somehow that's going to give him the leverage he needs so that, whatever, he's going to come back and then we get the confrontation between him and Gus in episode 7. Somehow they're in the super lab and Gus gets that gun, maybe. I don't know. But they better. I'll be really disappointed if they take Lalo out 7 episodes left and unless they're really going to do the crazy half a season set in the Breaking Bad timeline and then in the Gene timeline, like I said. In that case, killing him in 7 makes sense.
Yep.
How about you? Any thoughts on, do you think we're going to get the Gus Lalo showdown before, in these next 2 episodes? Or are they going to hold it back for the final 7 there?
I think the bait is already on the line, and Pete's sake, I think the line's in the water here with what we just saw happen with the super lab, with Gus planting the gun and kind of making his steps and figuring out, unplugging, switching things, looking like he got a lay of the land here on some next level shit. I will say, Magnum Mills, I do think that Jimmy learns that Lalo is still alive in this next episode or 2, and I think it creates a rift between him and Kim. I think he's really upset that Kim didn't tell him.
Quick, in addition to that, when he finds out, does he tell Kim that he knows?
I think he finds out knowing that Kim already knows.
Right,
no,
but he
I
doesn't
think
tell her right away, so she doesn't know that he knows. I'm just kind of curious because it feels like they, this is again, the longer you tell a lie or you don't tell someone something, the harder it gets. And something's got to kind of happen to start pushing them apart sooner than later. So
yeah, and he knows that she chose not to tell him. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe he decides not to tell her. But then on the other hand, Saul that's the one pure thing about Jimmy, how much he loves and admires Kim. So I could see it going either way, honestly, where he tells her right away because he just can't, he loves her so much. He's so sad that she didn't tell him. He needs to get it off his chest. He respects Kim, bro. He definitely does.
Yeah, that's right there for me. And I'll say that as far as the con they have going, I think it's pretty obvious from the way they were talking that they're going to do something with impersonating the mediator or whatever. So they're talking about the mustache and that's less face and that kind of thing. So I think they got to be running some kind of scam with that. And I will say, based on what Kim said to Jimmy there, I think that whatever that they're running on Hamlin, it's going to end really bad for him. Disbarred, divorced, maybe jail. Like, this isn't just like going to have to settle the Sandpiper case quick. It's to do so is going to have to do some serious damage to Howard Hamlin.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Hammer and Howard Hamlin is not only going to have problems at home, he's going to have some pretty serious problems professionally. Agree with that, Magnum Mills. Do we see Jesse and or Walt in this first 6 episodes?
They have to feel like no at this point, right? At least I'm saying no. It would kind of overshadow. They'd have to do it in 6, I think, because that would be, I don't know, if they did it in 7, I feel like it would overshadow anything else that could happen. So I think they got to keep that one in their back pocket still.
Do you think that that we get a Gene scene in the next episode?
No.
You think we get Gene scene at all in this first half, first block?
Negative.
Man, mean Gene, no can do. So it's going to be a lot of Gene, hopefully, in the next.
Well, like I said, before, I had a thing where, I made it's more of just a wild ass guess, but that like somehow all or most, if not all, of the second half is set either during the Breaking Bad timeline or in the Gene timeline post Breaking Bad. Like, I don't know, the way they're setting it up, if they really did the Lalo Gus confrontation here, it's not impossible because they've tied off almost everything else. All they have to do is basically deal with Lalo and deal with Kim.
Yeah, Lalo, Kim, and the scam.
He's all in. Well, Saul needs his caddy, I guess. But we're getting pretty. You know what? I'll say that next 2 episodes, Saul's getting a caddy.
I'll say that too. I agree with that 100%.
He's before the end of episode 7 here. Saul's got his caddy.
Lawyered up with the custom plate. One thing is for sure, I cannot wait. Absolutely love Saul and Better Call Saul. Super awesome show. I think that wraps us up here, Magnum Mills. What's on tap next for the Saul Over Soon podcast?
As always, we'll be covering the next episode, which is in this case, episode 6 of season 6, titled Axe and Grind, which will air May 9th. The short plot synopsis for that episode is Kim and Jimmy enlist a knowledgeable contact. Howard scrutinizes Jimmy's business practices. Very, very in-depth plot synopsis there. And the Saul Over Soon episode covering Axe and Grind will come out on Wednesday, May 18th.
Thank you again for checking us out. We are the Saul Over Soon podcast. We greatly appreciate your viewership. Please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube or rate and comment on your favorite podcast app. Helps us out a ton. Really appreciate it. Magnum Mills, my dude, tell these fine people where they can find all of our free content.
All right. Thank you again for checking us out, people. We are the Saul Over Soon podcast on your favorite podcast platform, on social media at Saul Over Soon. And you can send your feedback to sauloversoon@gmail.com. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We are covering the show Ozark from Netflix with the Ozark podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and social media at Ozark Podcast. We're also covering the 3rd season of Barry from HBO on the Barry Podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Barry Podcast. We always will cover It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on our show, Night Pod Cometh. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and social media at Night Pod Cometh. Thanks again for checking us out. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And remember, buckle up because you're in the game now.
And it's all over soon. We'll see you next week to cover Hit and Run right here on the Saul Over Soon podcast. Peace and love, people. Saul good, man.
Saul good, man. Unless you have a toilet in the middle of your office. This has been Saul Over Soon, a Better Call Saul podcast. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way affiliated with Better Call Saul, AMC, Sony Pictures Television, Netflix, or any other production company or association. The views here are those of the hosts only and do not represent any other entity. Thanks again for checking us out, and stay tuned because it's Saul Over Soon.